The gospel world has been shaken to its very core, and the internet cannot stop talking. What was supposed to be an evening of pure worship suddenly turned into a scene that felt ripped straight out of a psychological thriller. Picture this: Jackie Greene, radiant on stage only moments earlier, suddenly collapses in front of a stunned audience. But the real jolt came seconds before her fall, when Travis Greene stepped forward and delivered a confession so explosive that it instantly detonated across every corner of social media. Twitter threads ignited in real time, Instagram lives went wild with speculation, and YouTube comment sections transformed into virtual battlegrounds. People are asking with trembling curiosity, what exactly did Travis say that could send a shockwave strong enough to drop Jackie to the ground? What makes this moment even more spine-chilling is the timing. Travis's words were not some gentle testimony or minor personal update. Eyewitnesses describe a sudden shift in his voice, a deep intensity that filled the hall like an approaching storm. Then came a revelation so unexpected that phones flew up to record, hearts skipped beats, and whispers turned into gasps. It was as if the entire gospel community felt the floor tilt beneath them. Could this have been a long-buried secret, a hidden betrayal, or a confession of spiritual warfare that no one saw coming? Theories multiplied by the minute. Some fans believe he exposed something that had been quietly poisoning their ministry for years, while others are convinced it was an emotional cry for redemption. No one can say for sure, yet the raw energy in that room left even seasoned worship leaders frozen in disbelief. And then, Jackie fell. The crowd's joyful singing fractured into screams and chaos. Videos captured every second, Travis reaching out, ushers rushing forward, and fans dropping to their knees in shock. Within moments the clips had spread like wildfire. Twitter's trending page exploded. Instagram Reels replayed her collapse on a loop. Hashtags like #TravisConfession and #JackieGreenCollapse began climbing with terrifying speed. Commenters called it the most dramatic moment in gospel history, while others whispered about curses, betrayals, and prophecies finally catching up with the couple. The digital world became a courtroom overnight, with strangers and believers alike weighing in, dissecting each frame and every word. As the dust settles, one thing is certain: this is no ordinary fainting incident. It is a collision of faith, fame, and secrets that threatens to rewrite the narrative of two beloved gospel icons. Fans who once saw Travis and Jackie as unshakable pillars of unity now wonder if something darker has been unfolding behind closed doors. The confession has already reshaped careers and cast long shadows over future ministry plans. Industry insiders hint at damaged sponsorships, broken alliances, and hidden truths that could stretch far beyond a single night's drama. Stay with me until the end, because the story does not stop here. New footage keeps surfacing, new eyewitness accounts keep contradicting each other, and the mystery around Travis Greene's confession deepens by the hour. What he revealed is bigger than a headline. It is a turning point, an emotional earthquake that has left millions of believers and skeptics alike questioning everything they thought they knew about faith, loyalty, and trust. What happens next might not only change two lives but could shake the entire gospel landscape for years to come. What began as a routine night of worship spiraled into one of the most gripping spectacles the gospel world has ever witnessed. The venue was charged with music, light, and devotion as Travis Greene, celebrated for his electrifying vocals and unshakable stage presence, took the microphone. The crowd expected a familiar rhythm of uplifting songs and heartfelt testimonies. But in a split second, the entire atmosphere twisted into something no one present could have imagined, a moment so raw and so unsettling that it would burn itself into the memory of millions. It happened midway through the evening. Without warning, Travis lowered the microphone, and the music faded like a fading heartbeat. The stage lights dimmed into an eerie hush. Every eye locked on him as he exhaled slowly and began to speak. He was no longer the celebrated performer but a man standing bare before the world. His voice, heavy with unspoken grief, carried a confession that seemed to pierce through the air. Eyewitnesses describe an almost supernatural tension, as if the very walls of the hall were leaning in to catch every word. Phones rose instinctively, recording what they knew was not just another gospel story, but something seismic. The details of Travis Greene's confession remain cloaked in mystery, yet those who were there insist it was deeply personal, something that dug into the roots of his life and ministry. His words were not entertainment. They were an open wound. For longtime followers, this was more than transparency, it was a plunge into forbidden depths, a revelation that blurred every line between private agony and public calling. And then, before anyone could process what was happening, a scene unfolded that left even seasoned worship leaders gasping. Jackie Greene's reaction hit like a thunderclap. As Travis spoke, cameras captured her staggering back, her hand pressed hard against her chest. A sharp cry echoed across the stage before she collapsed to the floor. The sanctuary erupted into chaos. Some fans leapt forward to help, while others were frozen in disbelief, their phones still raised as if they could not look away. It was not only the physical fall that gripped everyone, but the terrifying synchronicity. The confession and her collapse felt inextricably fused, like cause and effect played out in real time. Within minutes, the digital world caught fire. TikTok and Instagram were flooded with shaky live clips, Twitter threads became arenas of frantic speculation. Hashtags like hashtag Travis Confession and hashtag Jackie Greene Collapse trended at lightning speed. Comment sections overflowed with stunned questions. What truth could hit her heart so hard? Is this the end of their ministry as we know it? Every replay of that fall deepened the mystery, every share turned the night into a global spectacle. People were not just watching a fainting spell, they were witnessing a spiritual earthquake. Why did this confession strike so painfully, so personally? Insiders whisper that Travis may have unveiled a revelation that cut across both their personal lives and their shared ministry. Perhaps a hidden betrayal. Perhaps a long-suppressed truth. Whatever it was, it reached Jackie with the force of a secret finally breaking free. The overlap of private and public, of marriage, faith, and reputation, created an emotional collision that no one could dismiss as coincidence. Fans across continents felt it, as if the shock traveled through the very cables of the internet into their own living rooms. Tonight, the gospel world stands at the edge of a cliff, holding its breath. Travis and Jackie Greene's journey, once a story of harmony and praise, now reads like a suspense thriller unfolding in real time. As more footage leaks and eyewitnesses step forward, one question burns brighter than ever: what truth was powerful enough to bring a world-renowned gospel couple to their knees in front of millions? Whatever the answer, this is not just a performance gone wrong. It is a revelation that could redefine faith, trust, and the meaning of worship itself. The night was supposed to end with prayerful music and applause, but the most startling chapter of the story was only beginning. For days, headlines focused on Jackie Greene's terrifying collapse, yet none of the first reports revealed the full depth of what Travis Greene had actually said. That omission left millions grasping for answers, sparking a storm of speculation and debate across every corner of the internet. What appeared to be a single dramatic incident was only the opening scene of a larger, more unsettling narrative, one that digs into faith, accountability, and the crushing pressures of living a gospel ministry under relentless public scrutiny. Inside the venue, the moment Jackie fell ignited instant pandemonium. Gasps turned into screams as stage lights flickered and phones recorded every frantic second. Stage crew members bolted toward her, their faces pale with fear. Travis froze mid-sentence, eyes wide, before instinctively calling on the audience to pray. Witnesses describe a chaos so thick it felt almost electric. People did not know if they were watching a medical emergency, a spiritual warfare attack, or something even more mysterious. Paramedics, already stationed nearby because of the massive crowd, sprinted onto the stage, surrounding Jackie as the audience watched in helpless silence. But what the world initially saw, 30-second clips looping endlessly on TikTok and Instagram, was only the surface. Behind the scenes, the tension was far more intense. Insiders later revealed that Jackie had been quietly struggling with anxiety and emotional exhaustion in the weeks leading up to the event. She had kept her pain hidden, pouring herself into ministry and placing the spiritual needs of others above her own well-being. The shocking confession from Travis did more than surprise her, it pierced a tender place, triggering a storm of physical and emotional reactions that no camera could fully capture. Medical experts explain that sudden collapses during live performances often stem from emotional overload combined with physical strain like dehydration or fatigue. For Jackie, sources close to the couple believe it was a perfect storm, a collision of mental stress and heart-shaking shock. Fans on social media, however, were not satisfied with clinical explanations. Hashtags such as hashtag #TruthCollapse and hashtag #TravisRevelation roared to life, feeding wild theories of hidden betrayals, secret disputes, and supernatural signs. Some wrote, "I have never seen anything like this in gospel ministry," while others whispered about a confession so explosive that it could end careers. Throughout the chaos, Travis Greene's own response became part of the legend. Witnesses describe him as visibly shaken yet astonishingly composed. He immediately silenced the music and pleaded with the audience to intercede in prayer for Jackie. Later, on his official social channels, Travis reassured anxious fans that Jackie was receiving proper medical attention and that her collapse was not caused by any physical harm linked to the confession itself. Yet his calm words did little to cool the wildfire of speculation. To millions watching from their phones, the timing felt too exact, too haunting, to dismiss as coincidence. And that is where the cliffhanger deepens. The true content of Travis's confession remains deliberately veiled, a mystery feeding endless late-night debates. Was it a buried secret that shattered the foundation of their marriage? A revelation about their ministry's future? Or something even more profound, something spiritual that words cannot fully explain? Each unanswered question pulls the audience deeper, turning a single onstage emergency into a worldwide obsession. As new fragments of information leak out and conflicting eyewitness stories surface, one thing is undeniable: this is not just a story about a collapse. It is a revelation that continues to shake the gospel community, daring everyone to wonder how much truth a human heart can carry before it finally breaks. The night did not end with silence. It erupted into a second wave of speculation and raw emotion that refused to die down. Jackie would not react like that for nothing. "I hope she is okay. This is shocking," one fan wrote on Twitter, and thousands echoed the sentiment across TikTok and Instagram. While most people sent heartfelt prayers, a smaller, louder corner of the internet began to spin darker theories, rumors of hidden conflicts, quiet marital rifts, or even staged theatrics meant to capture attention. Yet those closest to Jackie and Travis Greene came forward quickly, their voices steady and insistent. This moment was genuine, born of something profoundly human and spiritual, not a scripted stunt for the spotlight. In the fragile hours after the collapse, Jackie herself broke the silence with a message that pulsed with humility and quiet strength. She assured her supporters that she was recovering, thanked them for their unceasing prayers, and admitted she was still processing the magnitude of what had happened. Her words were brief but telling, acknowledging that Travis Greene's confession had carried a weight far beyond the ordinary and hinting, without revealing, just how deep those unseen waters ran. For fans desperate for reassurance, her statement was both comforting and haunting, a sign that the story was far from finished. This hidden context became the key to understanding why the incident resonated like a thunderclap around the world. Jackie's collapse was not just a medical scare, it became a living metaphor for the invisible strain carried by gospel artists whose lives are constantly under the microscope. It was a vivid, visceral reminder of how emotional truths can manifest in the body, of how ministry can demand everything until the soul itself trembles. And it set the stage for an even more unsettling revelation. Because while the headlines screamed about Jackie's fall, a far more mysterious question kept the internet awake at night: what exactly had Travis Greene confessed? Friends of the couple remained guarded, refusing to divulge the specifics. Rumors multiplied like sparks in dry grass. Commenters connected old interviews, obscure lyrics, and half-forgotten controversies, constructing elaborate theories about hidden relationships, ministry politics, and spiritual battles. Hashtags like #what did Travis say and #confession uncut surged, transforming curiosity into a worldwide guessing game. When the next layer of the story finally began to emerge, it was clear why the truth had taken time to surface. The confession itself, according to witnesses and trusted insiders, unfolded like a storm breaking over the stage. The auditorium had been alive with worship moments earlier, hands raised, voices lifted in song. Then Travis paused, leaned into the microphone, and began to speak with a trembling steadiness that made every heartbeat in the room audible. Those present describe a surreal shift from concert energy to something far more intimate and dangerous, as though the crowd had stepped inside his private prayer closet. Travis spoke of hidden struggles and spiritual battles that few could have guessed. He admitted that in his pursuit of powerful ministry moments, he had sometimes made decisions that wounded people unintentionally. He confessed the crushing weight of ambition and the nights spent wrestling with doubt, when the roar of applause faded into a silence so deep it felt endless. He described the loneliness of fame, how the demand to appear as an unshakable spiritual giant can leave even the strongest soul feeling invisible and misunderstood. And perhaps most disarming of all, he revealed moments of quiet resentment toward a system that praises talent yet seldom checks on the human heart behind the microphone. His words were not rehearsed. They were raw and trembling, carrying both relief and fear. To many in the audience, it felt as though he was opening a hidden journal in front of thousands, tearing away the careful image of a perfect gospel hero. By the time he finished, the room was silent except for the sound of weeping. What Travis Greene unveiled was not simply a confession of professional missteps, it was an unfiltered cry from a man who had lived too long under the crushing expectations of public ministry. And for Jackie Greene, standing just a few feet away, that cry cut so deep it became a physical force, one that shook the entire gospel world and continues to reverberate long after the final note of music faded. By this point the room was already heavy with confession, but what came next pierced the gospel world like a blade. Among the many startling admissions, one stood out and refused to fade. Travis Greene spoke of relationships, real human ties that had once been sacred and strong but had frayed in silence. He described friendships and mentorships where trust had cracked, creative partnerships that had shifted from harmony to hidden rivalry, and late-night conversations that ended in icy distance. He did not need to name every person. The weight of his words painted the scenes for him: rehearsals that ended in tense silence, midnight phone calls where apologies never quite healed the wound, and long unanswered emails that still hung like ghosts between former allies. Listeners said you could almost feel the echoes of those unspoken arguments vibrating through the room. This revelation did more than shock his audience, it rewrote the history of his closest ministry circles. For years, fans had imagined gospel collaborations as purely joyful unions, untouched by ego or conflict. But Travis peeled back that ideal, showing how even in sacred spaces where music and worship intertwine, human frailty walks freely, leaving scars behind. The confession turned every shared memory into a question mark, every public smile into a possible disguise. Social media erupted instantly. Twitter lit up with comments like, "Which artists was he talking about?" and "This feels like gospel's biggest secret finally breaking loose." Hashtags such as #BrokenAlliances and #BehindThePraise began to trend as amateur detectives dissected every lyric and old interview for hidden clues. For Jackie Greene, standing just a breath away, these were not abstract revelations. She was not simply a fellow performer. She had walked with Travis through years of ministry, whispered prayers with him backstage, and shared private hopes about the future of their calling. She knew the unspoken stories behind every phrase he uttered, the silent history woven between rehearsals and tours. As each sentence rolled from his lips, it reached deep into their shared past, those tense tour rehearsals where tension simmered like an unseen storm, those meetings where decisions left uneasy questions hanging in the air, those late-night conversations they once vowed would stay forever private. The room might have heard confessions. Jackie heard memories. That is why the moment struck her with a force no camera could truly capture. This was not distant gossip she could process like a spectator. It was a mirror held up to her own journey, and it hit with surgical precision. Witnesses remember her first subtle signs of strain, her fingers tightening around a nearby chair, her breathing turning sharp and shallow. She tried to steady herself, but the emotional current was too fierce. Tears welled as the buried weight of years surged back all at once. For those who know Jackie, this was the most heartbreaking twist of all. She is famously composed, the quiet strength who carries everyone else's burdens without complaint. But on that stage, with the world watching and memories crashing back, the dam finally broke. Her collapse was not just a physical faint, it was the visible shattering of years of silent endurance, a shock wave that made the entire gospel community